Hello and happy Halloween. This is Sarah from Serenity, and today I thought we would take a break from astrology and do something spooky to celebrate this holiday. I'd like to share with you a ghost encounter I had in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the United States, approximately 7 years ago. So make a cup of tea, turn off the lights, and settle in for this ghost story. And it is actually a true story, by the way. Like I say, about 7 years ago, myself and two of my spiritual studies students went to New Orleans to surprise Miss Roxana for her birthday. So this was in mid-December, and the quarter was decorated and everything was very festive. It was a good time to be there. So a little bit of background if you're not familiar with New Orleans or the historical French Quarter. The city of New Orleans grew up around a bend of the Mississippi River, where trade and transportation has thrived for 300 plus years. So it is an older part of America, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that old. If you want to visit old stuff in the United States, you should go visit the massive buildings of the ancestral Pueblo people in the American Southwest, specifically Chaco Canyon, and it dates from 850 to 1250 AD. But that's a story for another video and more and more ghost stories. But anyway, on this particular adventure 7 years ago, we had headed to New Orleans, which is still a busy port, but it's also a tourist destination. And some people do come for the history. Some people do come to just party and have a good time. The weather is usually very warm, and it is a very inviting place. Back in the day, it was also an immigration port. So there was lots of commerce, lots of people coming in. There was people fleeing oppression in other countries, and there were also people bringing in different beliefs and different ideas. So it is a very multicultural area. So you have a lot of people, a lot of commerce, and a lot of bizarre things really happening in New Orleans. And the French Quarter itself is one of the older areas. In my opinion, it is probably one of the most European cities in America. Also, New Orleans itself, the city, is considered to be one of the most haunted towns in America. And the reason that we were meeting in New Orleans was Lady Roxana lives there. While we were there, we stayed in a hotel in the quarter, and one of our group went on a local ghost tour, and we'll call her Angelique. So Angelique went on this ghost tour, and it ended about 10:30 at night. And so she was going to meet us at Café Du Monde, where my other student, let's call her Char, and I were sat drinking coffee. So we thought that would be a good place to meet up. And then we were going to have coffee, discuss the ghost tour, discuss the day, that kind of thing. And yes, it's late at night, but it's the quarter and it goes 24 hours. So as we sat there drinking coffee, we got a phone call from her right about 10:30 saying that she was having trouble finding us. And she was in the quarter, and the quarter's not that big. And so I gave her directions, and she's like, okay, well, I'll be there in just a minute. So we sat there, and probably half an hour passed, and she sent us a text message then saying that she was lost. And actually, she ended up getting a free drink at one of the bars because she had gone on the ghost tour. They gave her a coupon, and it had really been strong, and she was pretty messed up. So that also is a thing that a lot of people don't understand about the energy in New Orleans. It is very strong, and anything you do there, whether it's eat, drink, party, whatever, shall have a major impact on you because of the energy. And then if you're an energy worker, or you are an empath, or any kind of way spiritual, it's going to be even stronger. So that one little drink really knocked her off her feet. So by this time, it's a little after 11. I asked her in the text, can you pick up the phone? I called her and said, okay, tell me what you see around you. Tell me where you are. And she didn't know where she was, and there wasn't a street sign. So, okay, just tell me the name of the building, so maybe I can find it that way. And so she told me, and I knew exactly where she was. She had become turned around and lost in the maze of small cobblestone streets, which is really easy to do anytime in the quarter, much less at night. It's much easier to become lost at night. And she was actually in Pirates Alley. So I told her, just basically stay put and we'll come meet you. But it's going to take us a little bit of time to get there. So myself and Char walked over to meet her. So let me tell you just really quickly what Pirates Alley is. Well, first, Pirates Alley is considered to be the most haunted place in the most haunted city. So yeah, so good job, Angelique. Pirates Alley is actually a really small, well, alleyway. It's between St. Louis Cathedral and the barracks. The stones are really old on the street and really uneven, and it can be really tough walking, especially if you're in heels. I don't recommend it. There's not a whole lot going on the street. I mean, there's a bookstore and some things, but there's cast iron lamp posts and they're all leaned, and it's just, there's not a lot happening there. It wasn't, I don't think, actually meant to be a thoroughfare. It's just a shortcut, and it can be a really creepy feeling. A lot of people say the energy there is creepy anyway, and now we're talking, you know, it's getting close to midnight, and did I mention the fog was rolling in too? So it's dark, the fog's rolling in, and yeah, but Angelique wasn't nervous or scared. She was just lost. So it's like, okay, no problem. Actually, the name of Pirates Alley, if you ever want to visit it, is Rue Orleans, but no one calls it that. Like I say, it's just a shortcut. The alleyway itself is probably only 16, 18 feet long, and it's not very wide. So anyway, Pirates Alley is just a shortcut between streets alongside St. Louis Cathedral. And there are many, many stories of that place, of pirates, of ghosts, of, you know, just people seeing weird stuff, of people seeing the famous writer there as well, and there's just lots of stuff going on. So I really thought it interesting, of all the places that she ended up there. So as we walked from Cafe Du Monde to meet our lost friend, I debated on whether or not I should tell Char that this was considered to be an uber haunted place. And the reason I didn't tell her was I didn't really want to implant that idea into her mind, you know? So let's just go and see what happens, and who knows what we'll see. So at this point, let me reiterate, none of us had been drinking except for Angelique, and she only had one drink, and we were on foot, all three of us, walking around at midnight in the quarter. So we're walking there, and we're seeing fewer and fewer people the further into the quarter we go, because, you know, it is late, and it is December, so it's relatively chilly. It's not cold by any means, but you still need a sweater. So as we get closer, I see our friend as we step into the alleyway. The way it's situated, it's really private. I see our friend, and she's basically, you know, sitting there leaning against a lamppost, and she looks fine. So I wave to her, and she comes over, and I see that Char is not looking at her. She's looking at something else. So I'm like, huh. So I'm like, are you okay? And she whispers back to me, Sarah, why is there a child here all alone? And I'm like, what? She's like, where the hell are its parents? It's after midnight. Look. And as Angelique comes over to us, I look in the direction that she is staring, and there is a little boy, I don't know, no older than 3 probably, blonde hair, striped shirt, just standing there looking at us. And she's like, what the hell, we need to go help him. And I told her, hold on just a minute, don't rush him. Maternal instinct and all, I totally get it. I totally get she wanted to aid this child, but there was something just not quite right about this situation. Scanning this small alleyway, there was no one present except for Angelique, ourselves, and this little boy. As I was looking around, Char was becoming more and more agitated. And also, all 3 of us are healers, so there is that inborn need to help. If we can be of service, if we can help someone, of course we're going to help. So she was becoming more and more agitated. The child hadn't moved. He was still standing in the exact same spot at the other end of the alley from us. So keeping one eye on Charlotte and the child, I turned my attention to Angelique to see if she is in fact okay. By this point, she's standing in front of us with her back to the child, talking to us, and I ask her, you know, are you all right? She's, oh yeah, I'm fine. And she appears to be completely sober by now. She said that the only thing was she was hungry, and she had a list of foods she wanted to try while she was in the French Quarter, and wanted to know if we could go get something to eat. At this point, I now quietly remind her that it's after midnight, and she seems somewhat shocked and surprised because the ghost tour ended at 10:30-ish. Where did all that time go? And I asked her, where had she been all of this time? And she said, here. But that didn't make any sense, did it? At this point, Char is becoming more and more agitated that we will not go over and assist this child. Angelique hears her whispering and says, what are you talking about? And she's like, the child. Why didn't you help the child if you were here the whole time? And Angelique, of course, said, what child? Where? At this point, she turns, Char points, and Angelique cannot see the child. We take 3 or 4 more steps towards the child. It still doesn't move. Angelique can still not see it. She whispers to me, Sarah, there's no one in this alley but us. So I advise Char, why not take a picture of him? She looked at me like I was daft because, you know, it's not a tourist attraction. This is a lost child. And I said, I totally understand, but what if he runs off? We need a picture of him so we can tell the authorities. And she thought that was a very good idea. So she then pulled out her cell phone and was in the process of taking a picture. Angelique whispered to me, "What are you talking about? I don't see a child anywhere." Shar, hearing this, turned to me and said, "Sarah, do you see it? Tell me you see this lost, innocent child alone in the French Quarter." And I said, "Yes, I do. I see him. He's standing right there. He's approximately 3 years old, blonde hair, striped shirt, short pants, needs a jacket." She begins manipulating her phone in his general direction. "Sarah, why won't he show up on my phone?" Angelique took this moment to whisper, "What's going on? Is this a ghost?" At this point, Shar turns to us. "I don't care if it's a ghost or not. We need to help this child," and takes 2 or 3 more tentative steps forward. Angelique and I follow behind her. Angelique turns to me and says, "Sarah, is Shar going to be okay if she approaches that ghost that, remember, Angelique can't see?" I said, "Yeah, I think she'll be fine." We came to New Orleans for adventure, and it seems to be unfolding. We've got Shar's back, and this isn't my first rodeo here either. At this point, Shar begins to talk to the child, saying reassuring phrases to it like it's going to be okay. "We're here to help you. We're going to find your parents." The child looks at her as she takes tentative steps towards it. Angelique and myself follow right behind her. Our guard is up, and we're fully focused on the child, or in Angelique's case, the space where Charlotte is looking, and Char's back. There's no one else in the alleyway. The fog is starting to settle in on both ends, and it's very dark and quiet. A chill moves over all 3 of us, and I see that we involuntarily shudder as we take a few more steps closer towards the child. Time seems to stand still, and I realize I'm holding my breath. Our feet make a scraping noise. Shar moves up another 10 steps, reassuringly murmuring, "We're here to help you. Everything's going to be okay." The child is looking at her, and from my viewpoint, I can see the child. Perfect skin, blonde hair, big blue eyes. All the city sounds have hushed now, and there's a deep, deathly quiet that's settled over the alley. As we inch closer, Angelique turns to me and whispers, Sarah, I was just on this ghost tour." I nod my head, never taking my eyes off the child. She said they talked about ghosts and fires and soldiers and lots of ghosts, but not about children's ghosts and not about them in this area. And I said quietly, "Yes, there are lots of things that we don't understand about spirits or the spirit world. We don't understand much about anything when it comes to the supernatural." Angelique asked me, "How come that you and Shar can see this and I can't see it?" I shook my head. "I don't know." Remembering a history lesson, children were used as forced labor. They worked in factories, cotton gins, on boats, anything really to earn any money for their family. It was a very different time, and life was very hard for people, especially children. And a lot of them disappeared mysteriously, so there's no telling what actually is out there roaming around. Shar had taken a few more steps forward, still murmuring to the child. We approached silently behind her. She was probably now no more than a few feet away. She could have touched the child. She held up her phone, trying to take another photo, and obviously there was nothing in the viewfinder. Suddenly, the child moved its head and smiled the most beatific smile. I swear I heard Shar swallow as she got ready to reach out and touch the child now. Time had completely stopped as we all stood stiffly in this dark, creepy alley. Then just as suddenly, boom, it was gone. 1 minute it was there, and the next minute it was gone. Shar jumped and let out a scream. Angelica asked, "What happened? What happened?" And quietly I explained to her what I had seen. Shar had seen about the same, and she was ready to go back to the room. So she left us right then, walked up the street, called a cab, and was gone. I went with Angelica to go find some food. So that was one of our many interesting encounters in New Orleans. So what do you think? Would you have been brave like Shar and approached the ghost? Or would you have run off from it? Have you had experiences like this? I'd love to know. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, definitely let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Reiki blessings. Bye-bye.